welcome one and all to a brand new episode of the Hardcore Podcast. I am your savior, the Hardcore Kid, the kid that is also hardcore. And with me right now, Brother Raymond, Otaku Nate.
Yes! Brother Robert, it is a pleasure to be here with you on this podcast that is hardcore. Tell me, what will we be discussing tonight?
Well, tonight we will be discussing a pay-per-view from the nefarious Meek Mahan entitled Extreme Rules.
Wonderful!
Well, the show wasn't so wonderful, unfortunately.
Oh,
But before we get into it, we should also introduce our other guest we got on here. Way back in the early days of Channel Awesome and That Guy with the Glasses, me and a couple of other reviewers on the That Guy with the Glasses forums, we made a collaboration of video reviews covering the Land Before Time sequels. I did a review of Land Before Time 3, and Duke, our special guest here, did a review of the Land Before Time 13, was it?
Yes, and we all thought that was going to be the last one.
Yeah, turns out it wasn't. Yeah, this is DukeCT, or Charles Thomas, whatever you want to call him. How you doing, Chuck?
Oh, just fine. Just in the midst of editing my next episode of Last We Were Standing, the crossover with the Hipster Ninja and for WrestleMania 33. And I'm mostly done, even though it's just, oh gosh, it's just, the Herculean efforts, you see the goal line, it looks so close, but then you realize it just gets farther and farther away. But hopefully here's hoping I'll get it done maybe by Monday night. Hopefully.
I think before we get into tonight's pay-per-view review, I think Nate and I need to discuss a little indie show we went to a couple months ago. House of Hardcore 24 in Metuchen, New Jersey.
Metuchen.
I don't... It's still a weird town with a weird name. Whatever.
Metuchen, what's your function?
Working on words and phrases and clauses.
Yeah, but basically it was, believe it or not, this was actually the second live wrestling show I've ever been to. The first one was a Raw show I went to in Meadowlands, back when it was called Meadowlands, in East Rutherford, New Jersey. It was way back in July of 2005. House of Hardcore is the second show I've been to. It took place in a PAL building. So basically you're in this big building. There's all sports going on. There was a little roller hockey game going on in one room. There was a soccer practice going on in another. And, of course, the wrestling show was taking place in the area next to it. Decent. It was a good little showing. You had we got there a bit early. I'm actually surprised I was able to get there, because heading to Metuchen or anywhere beyond Route 78 on 287 is a nightmare. Because as soon as you get past 78, you're in the midst of complete bumper-to-bumper traffic. But thankfully, I was able to survive that horrible expedition and made it to the PAL Center. It wasn't just a show. They also had meet and greets. I got a whole slew of autographs from Broken Matt Hardy, Velvet Sky, Sammy Callahan, Sandman, and a whole bunch of others. MVP, the most valuable players, and also Brian Cage from Lucha Underground. Who?
Oh yes, that's my dude right there.
Yeah, hell yeah! I look at Brian Cage. I always see him on Lucha Underground. He's this big, jacked up dude. He's huge. And then you see him up close. You're getting his autograph on the table. You're taking pictures with him. He's surprisingly short. Like, he's 6'0". I'm 5'7". I'm posing next to him. He's only about a few inches taller than me. It's kind of weird. And the same can be said for like Matanza. Like, he's 5'9", but he's like they still book him as this big scary monster when really Jeff Cobb is only 5'9", 5'10", and it's kind of funny. I've seen Jeff Cobb wrestle without the mask, and without it, he just looks like this big scary Olympic wrestler, which he is. He was in fact an Olympic wrestler, and Brian Cage, I really see him. I don't know if he has a amateur wrestling background, but he looks like he could probably kick ass in wrestling Olympics or something.
I would not want to mess with Brian Cage looking at that physique, man.
Holy shit. I was able to get, they had Tommy Dreamer, the guy running the event. He was pacing around, going around, checking the CEO, is everything going all right? He moves quite well for a fat guy.
Well, he's still in better shape than Chris Hero.
Well, Hero can't help it because he's got thyroid issues. That big belly, he can't control it. And we got good seats. We were right by the entranceway, so I could always reach my hand out in front of the entranceway and just high five wrestlers when they're coming past. It was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
First, I'll do a quick run through of the matches, and then we'll go right into the Extreme Rules match. Bull Dempsey, now known as Bull James, versus TJ Marconi. Bull actually looks like he's lost a lot of weight, but then again, he was wrestling this guy who was much fatter than he was, and they had a fun little opener, and Bull won, I think. I don't even remember the moves, but it was a little opener. It was a good 2-star match.
Came out with a Bruiser Brody chain wrapped around his arm.
Yeah, he's representing. And Bull won, and then ran back, gave me a high five as he went past, which leads us to the next match: Rhett Titus versus Action Ortiz. Action Ortiz I've seen in TNA. He was there. Rhett Titus I've heard of but never seen. He looked like every generic geek heel. But they had a fine match. Rhett Titus won. Nate was the only guy in the entire building cheering for Rhett Titus.
Hey, I'm cheering for the local guy, okay? He's from LBI.
Yeah, so Rhett Titus won, and then Nate just he climbs over and tries to get a high five from Rhett Titus. Rhett tries to go for it, pulls it back, turns on Nate.
I don't remember that.
Oh, I definitely remember it. I have a photographic memory. I just can't photograph every single move that they do in these shows. Speaking of moves, that we move on to the six-way. Devon Storm, Pat Buck, and Little Guido, a.k.a. Nunzio.
Devon Storm, also known as Crowbar.
Yeah, they call him Devon Storm here, but they defeated Gigolo Justin, Vic Dashius, and Hale Collins.
Vic Delicious.
Three people I've never heard of.
Yeah, it was two indie tag teams, the Heavenly Bodies and The Now. The Now I know because they work with Northeast Wrestling, which is not far from where I live.
Nice. Yeah, they had a pretty good six-way. Guido started out doing a lot of amateur chain wrestling, all that good shoot wrestling you do. Crowbar, who I haven't seen since WCW, he looks like Bryan Adams' corpse. No disrespect, but he didn't do much, but he did okay from what we saw. He was able to bust out a Frankensteiner, which looked good. They got the heat on Pat Buck, and they eventually got the win. And Guido hit the unprettier, and Buck hit the top rope splash, and Guido got the cover. Boom. Alex Reynolds defeated Matt Stryker. I zoned out during this match because I hate both these men. The end.
There was one spot where they were standing on their heads, slapping each other.
These are grown-ass men. Grown-ass men. Brian Cage versus MVP. Now, this is interesting because I think they switched the schedule around because...
Yeah. I'll take over.
Yeah, you take over.
Apparently Matt Riddle was scheduled to appear on this show, but he had to cancel because he had booked with PWG that evening. Tommy Dreamer even made a made a little joke because the show took place on 421. He said, yeah, Matt Riddle was supposed to appear, but unfortunately he had to cancel because he overbooked himself. But yesterday was 420, so I can kind of forgive him.
That was awesome. So, Brian Cage versus MVP. This was a babyface versus babyface match. And it was pretty good. Brian Cage, he's a fucking tank. And MVP, he was a little bit heelish in this match, but given that this was a last-minute thing, I guess he had to do what he could do. It's really cool. I don't know, for those of you who've never seen Brian Cage, they have this gimmick where basically you're clapping or stomping to the Terminator theme, like Brian Cage, this big guy.
Yes, the Terminator. Boom, 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 boom. Dum, 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 dum.
It's fucking awesome. Yeah, and Brian Cage eventually hit a lariat, so it was an anticlimactic finish, but it was still a fun match, regardless.
Well, this is probably the best thing related to the Terminator in quite a while, so, you know.
Oh!
Hey, I'm just pointing out facts, man.
Next match was Sami Callihan versus Bobby Fish. It was supposed to be Sami versus Bubba Ray, I believe.
Yes, yeah, it was supposed to be Bully Ray versus Sami.
But of course, with all the booking bullshit, they had to change the schedule around. This was actually the best match on the show. I have no idea who the heel was in this match, but
it was supposed to be Sami, given his gear and what he did in the match.
He was being. I thought because Fish, I think isn't Fish a heel in ROH?
I don't know. I know that he's one half of Red Dragon. Kyle O'Reilly was MIA.
Yeah, well, Sami, the guys loved Sami. He did a lot of They did a lot of wacky babyface antics at the beginning. The best part was when they were, for no reason, chanting wrestling. And then they did some wacky shit. They did a lot of brawling out of the ring, and the referee, who should be doing the 10 count, was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna let this run, ref." And I'm like, "Why?" And then I think about 5-6 minutes later, all of a sudden he just decides to start counting, and I'm like, "Now you're counting?" Some ref. Other than that, and aside from one horrifyingly disgusting motherfucker, these guys were spitting on each other. There was a part where Sami, I guess, got like saliva either from himself or Fish, and he tried to whack Fish in the face with his own excrement, but he ended up hitting the pole instead. That looked like it hurt, but yeah. There was other goofball antics with the chair, and eventually Callahan got a sit-out powerbomb, stretch muffler, and he tapped him out. But it was a fun match. And the main event was supposed to be Broken Matt Hardy versus Tommy Dreamer. They built it up for it. Matt got the top building. His face is right in the middle of the poster. He goes out. He does his Broken Hardy gimmick antics. And what happens? Well, the Spirit Squad come out. And they say that Meek Mahan has deleted this match because WWE bullshit. Yeah. I mean, Matt was nice enough to be able to go down there and at least show up, but that nefarious Meek Mahan just not letting these guys give their freedom.
And
I think, because I mean, when Samoa Joe signed to NXT, he was still able to do a few shows on ROH before he had to move to the roster.
That was NXT and WWE. I think it was like scheduling and such. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, so Matt Hardy versus Tommy Dreamer didn't happen. So instead, we got the Spirit Squad of Kenny and Mikey versus Bully Ray and Tommy Dreamer. They didn't do a goddamn thing in this match. They hit a bunch of stupid-ass, wacky ECW antics. There was a garbage can that was used, cane that was used. The chairs, hardcore my ass. They used plastic chairs. Like, the entire room, they don't have steel chairs anywhere. They just have plastic chairs. The floor, because it's a PAL building, You all right over there? What's going on?
I'm fine, just moving some stuff.
They'd roll outside onto the AstroTurf. They'd get all that black shit you see on the AstroTurf sticking to them, just ridiculous. And then this was sad. You remember how Sandman appeared in that god awful TNA pay-per-view where they brought in all the ECW guys and he was fat as hell? Well, the good news is he's lost all that weight. The bad news is he's lost a bit too much weight. And on top of that, just 24 hours before the show, he just came from hernia surgery, so he was a literally broken man going in. It took him a good 10 minutes to finally run in. He finally runs in, hits him with the Singapore cane. Velvet Sky comes in, hit a god-awful spear on one of the guys. The end, yada, yada, yada. And Tommy Dreamer finished off saying, oh, shit happened. Matt wasn't able to wrestle, and yeah. Well, it wasn't a great show, but I enjoyed going. It was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. I need to take you to a Northeast show one of these days, Brandon. They put on great performances.
Absolutely.
Oh, one last thing I want to mention before we move on. Bully Ray cut a great promo on the Spirit Squad. Basically saying, nobody likes you. You will never do anything ever. You will never be known as anything else than Ziggler's bitches.
And, of course, the crowd was chanting Ziggler's bitches. Which, really, this crowd tonight, on Extreme Rules, for the most part, they were hot. But, again, there was a lot of times where all the energy was just sucked out of them. And there's a good reason why. Whoever booked this Extreme Rules show, it's obvious they have no idea how to book baby faces, because virtually every baby face on this in this pay-per-view were made to look like idiots.
Well, the main event, they didn't look like idiots.
Well, yeah, they're trying to make Finn Balor into a star, and I think they're doing okay with it so far.
All right, let's take a look.
We'll get to it. We will get into it, Nate, but we've got the rest of the pay-per-view to go through.
Well, let's go with the first match.
All right, I actually saw the pre-show first. I saw Kalisto versus Apollo Crews with Titus O'Neil. It was actually a pretty decent match. Kalisto was dressed up like he was Pentagon Jr. or something.
I think it was Tom Sivani actually made his mask. And he was, that it looks good. And you know what? I'm going to say this. Have Kalisto take on The Miz for the Intercontinental title after the feud go on SummerSlam. Have him use the momentum when he beats Strowman. Have him do something. That should be something. That's my thing. Move him up to the card. He's winning these matches, so have progression. That's what I want to see.
Well, that's the big issue. It's like people were like, "Oh, but Kalisto was getting that big push. He beat Braun Strowman in that dumpster match. That was a fluke win." And immediately after he won, Braun just beat the living hell out of Kalisto and put him in a dumpster, and that was it. Now Kalisto is trapped in pre-show hell, fighting Apollo Crews, who, again, Apollo Crews is a talented guy. He's very athletic, and he put on a good match with Kalisto, but
he has no character, and he's legitimately, he's actually worse off than where Kofi Kingston was when he was just smiling and doing his whole, that's that kind of gimmick before he found a New Day. That's how bad he is right now. And with Tyler, with him, a Cruz, and Titus O'Neil, I'm hopeful that they'll do something, because at this point, you know what? Apollo Crews needs to go turn full heel at this point and join up with Apollo Crews. Be like the next, Titus could be like the next Gary Hart, the old school heel manager, and just have Apollo Crews just start wrecking people. That's the only thing that can save him.
Nate, did you see this match at all?
No, I was at the graduation party for a friend of my family's, and I mostly just spent the time there just sitting on my ass in his basement playing Nintendo 64 because he still has all of his old N64 cartridges.
Speaking of video games, did you guys see that Up, Up, Down, Down episode where Seth Rollins destroyed AJ Styles in Madden and AJ just rage quit at the end?
No, I haven't had a chance to see that yet.
Oh, it's amazing. You have to watch it. But yeah, Kalisto beat Apollo Crews with the Selena del Sol after Titus tried to interfere but failed. So, yeah, that was that. So, the first match on the main card was The Miz versus Dean Ambrose for the WWE Intercontinental Championship. And the extreme rule is that if Ambrose is DQ'd, he'll lose the title.
Extreme Rules my ass. Why are you holding a pay-per-view called Extreme Rules with a stipulation that does not allow the guy who is known for doing extreme stuff do extreme stuff?
Because it's extreme!
No. It's like what Matt Stryker said back in December to Dismember. It's like it's an extreme following of the rules.
So, I don't know what it is with Dean Ambrose, but it seems like whenever he's holding a championship, his matches just get worse. Yeah. Like when he was holding when he had the WWE Championship, it looked like he was on top of the world. Then he started having matches with Ziggler and whoever, and yeah, it was just like nothing. Charles, you want to say something?
Yeah, he just does not. I don't understand it. It just seems like he has a character, and then he just sucks the life out of out of the room. He just doesn't. People just like, yeah, he's just too cornball, and he goes too far at either end, and that's the frustrating thing about it.
Yeah, and I like Dean Ambrose. When the Shield were together, he was my favorite wrestler out of the three. I don't know. It's weird.
Dean,
Nate, what'd you think? What did you think of this?
Well, okay, I just want to say, Dean, if you're gonna be the lunatic fringe, go full Brian Pillman. Like I'm not saying that you need a gun. Just make the funny faces, go all out, go insane backstage. You're the lunatic fringe, man. Actually be a lunatic. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, this match. Lately, I've kind of had an epiphany over what I think my philosophy on in-ring psychology is. And this is probably going to be a separate rant if I ever do another wrestling show with you. But my big belief when it comes to in-ring psychology is everything that happens in the ring, from both a booking and a wrestling perspective, should happen for a good reason. If you're going to do a high spot, you need a good reason to do it. If you're going to book a swerve or a turn or anything, you need to have a good reason to do it. Another big factor for in-ring psychology when you're going to do a stipulation match, you need to honor that stipulation. How many times in this match was the stipulation not followed, or at least not put into play?
Well, they teased it a whole bunch of times. Like, sometimes Ambrose would just randomly bring a chair in, I guess, so he could get Miz to hit him.
That was one part of the match. Like, this just felt like a bog standard regular old match. I mean, it's Extreme Rules, for crying out loud. Make it no DQ.
I was expecting Maurice to slap him early in the match, and then next, call the match, and then Kurt Angle would come and say, you know what, that was stupid. You're going to have this match that starts again with a no disqualification match. And boom, there you go. But no, they just...
Maurice did slap The Miz. That's exactly what happened.
Except the ref got smart because he knows that the kind of bullshit that Maurice will pull off. And he's like, you're out of here. And it's like, okay, great, she's gone. And then Miz sends Ambrose bumping right into the ref. And the ref is like, motherfucker, you pushed me out here? All right, that's it. I'm going to go DQ you. And then he's just stomping over towards the ring bell. Tell the bellkeeper to ring the bell. Dean is just praying, no, please don't. And then he just turns around and Miz just hits the skull-crushing finale on him for the win. So, yeah. The stipulation was teased and teased and teased, and in the end, it meant nothing. Miz ended up winning the championship for the 7th time, which absolutely makes me even more sad to think of it.
Yeah, and even worse, you know how long this match was?
20 minutes.
Yes.
But you know what?
20 minutes.
It wasn't a bad 20 minutes. I thought it was a good, solid opener.
I honestly think this match should have been at least like 10, maybe 15 minutes. Cut a lot of fat, because there's a lot of fat that needed to be trimmed out. Because I was, watching this match. I was like, man, I wasn't really emotionally engaged in it at all until the last couple of minutes. And that to me shows me that, man, this, that's the problem with most of the card. I was not really emotionally involved in most of these matches. And that's a shame.
Yeah, especially since we've seen Dean and Miz wrestle each other many, many times already. So seeing these two, and it's crazy. You think that once Dean had been sent to Raw, we would have finally gotten enough of the Miz Dean Ambrose matches? Nope. We see them on Raw, and we're getting more of the same matches they've been having on SmackDown. It's just sad.
Because that's what Raw does best.
So yeah, Miz wins. We get our first heel win of the show, and certainly not the last. Next match was a mixed tag match between 2 cruiserweights and 2 women. Rich Swann and Sasha Banks versus Noam Dar and Alicia Fox.
No. It's Alicia Fox. And the best part of this, they didn't change the ring at all. They just kept it the same. I was like, holy crap, what did they do? They actually are integrating the cruiserweights into the roster, making them feel like they're actually a part of the show. Then later on, it's like, nope, they just, nope. They still trying to do that thing, even though it's not working.
They forgot to change the ropes.
Yeah, but this was a fun little match, actually.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Rich Swann, he's the hometown hero. He's from Baltimore. I feared the worst for him, but no, he still ended up getting the pin and pin for his hometown. I think he and Sasha Banks have
good chemistry.
Yeah. I think it'd be pretty funny if they. I don't know if you've heard of Mikaze. He is Sasha's hubby. He runs the up down down channel. I think it'd be funny if Mikaze was like her manager or something, kind of like what James Ellsworth is for Carmella. That'd be funny.
Yeah, but honestly, it was a good little match, and it got the crowd excited, and quite honestly, I gotta say this: Rich Swann was probably the only babyface on the show that was actually treated with some reverence. I actually had a little bit of, both Sasha and Rich Swann were probably was babyfaces were treated well for the most part. The entire card. How sad is that?
Also, Sasha Banks dancing to Rich Swann's theme at the end totally made the pay-per-view worth it. Almost, but not. You know what? Almost did, but I wouldn't pay money to see it.
She dances like your average American white person.
Yeah, she got to get some soul into her,
Yeah.
But well, since we had a good little match, then we get down to the real low. Bliss versus Bayley.
If I could be serious for a minute.
Yeah, go ahead, Nate.
Okay. I know a lot of people in the anti-smart community really hate Bayley. I am not one of those people.
She was getting boos tonight.
I know.
Like you hear the interview with Charlie, you can hear some booing in the background.
And you know why that is? Because she has been treated so badly since her step up to the main roster. Her graduation from NXT to the main roster should have been her maturing, not just as a performer, but as a character, showing that she's no longer the kid at heart, that she's a big girl now. We should have reason to root for her. But they have screwed up her development as a character every step of the way. It started with them giving her the title on a free TV show, as opposed to WrestleMania, giving her these horrible promos, likes of which Roman Reigns would cringe at, and just constantly booking her to make her look weak every step of the way. Now, I didn't expect Bayley to win at this match. I at least expected her to be competitive. I at least expected her to put up a little bit of a fight in this.
And she did for like a couple seconds, but
in this pole match, I should add.
I'm sure Vince Russo was orgasming when he was watching this match.
Nah, Vince Russo would probably put, like, the women's title belt itself on the pole, or, I don't know, Bayley's first grade teacher on the pole.
At this point, this match was just... I understood the story where it's going, but it was just terrible. That Was Your Life segment was bad. The entire thing was just... Everything around this whole... The match itself was just so terrible. And when you just have Bayley just get completely and utterly demolished, and I'm like, are they releasing her? Are they going to fire her? Because there's no way she can come back from this. I know never say never.
You know, and that's basically the whole what is it? Pattern gimmick idea, whatever the heck is going on with their heads, but basically they treated all the baby faces on this show as complete geeks. The only, like you said, the only good baby faces on this show were Rich Swann, Finn Balor, whatever you want to think about Roman Reigns. All right.
Can I just
now,
say
with
this?
That said, no, you can't. You're fired. Get out of here. Go ahead and say it, Nate.
You know, I recently had the chance last year when I was driving on a little bit of a road trip that I was taking for my vacation to re-listen to The Death of WCW. It is a good book, though I wouldn't say it's the be-all, end-all about the history of WCW, considering there are numerous shoot interviews offering various perspectives, and I encourage all of you to check that out. But the one point that Bryan Alvarez and Artie Reynolds make at several points in the book, and this was them, the one I remember most clearly was when they were talking about Booker T's push in WCW 2000, was that the crowd does not like stupid baby faces. Nobody likes a baby face that loses in stupid ways or that falls for the most basic of ribs.
And this was a prime example. If there's a death of WWE on the way, if it ever happens, a match like this would probably be in there somewhere. Because basically, Bayley gets the kendo stick falls off the pole, I don't know, 2 minutes in. So Bayley and Alexa, they're trying to go for the kendo stick. Bayley eventually is able to get it, starts chasing Alexa around and through the ring with it. And she's about to hit Alexa with it. She has Alexa cornered, and then Alexa just pops up, trips Bayley, takes the kendo stick, unleashes all hell on her with it, eventually gives her a shitty DDT, and pins Bayley.
The only real positive is that at least the DDT is used as a finishing move instead of a mid-setup move.
Yeah. 5 minutes and 10 seconds. This match was a complete waste of time. Anything else to add?
No, not really. No.
Thought you died for a second.
I'm here.
All right. So, it's time to move on to the Hardy Boys versus Cesaro and Sheamus in a cage match for the WWE Raw Tag Team Championship. Now, this is important because you know what today is, guys? Today is June 4th, 2017. One year ago today, the wrestling world was introduced to the broken brilliance of Matt Hardy.
And
They witnessed that totally wacky, ludicrous contract signing where Rebby Sky throws a doll, which is supposed to be King Maxwell, right at Jeff. And Jeff ends up taking a ugly-looking bump through some dilapidated table. And it all went crazy from there. This was the birthday of that broken brilliance. And what happens on that birthday? The Hardy Boys lose. And not only do they lose in one of the stupidest ways possible. Let's talk about the stipulation for this match.
A cage match that we win by escaping the cage, because Lord knows that always makes you so much of a badass. Because the winner is the one who leaves, who's the first coward who leads the men in the ring. That sort of thing. That always proves how manly you really are. Gosh.
Yeah, but I'm okay with that. The reason is how they booked this match. Now, I remember playing all old WWE games and stuff, and sometimes we would have a tag team cage match. And basically, if one member of the tag team leaves, they've one half is gone, they're out of the match, and now they just have to get the other tag team partner to win. So what happens in this match? Jeff Hardy is able to escape the cage. He goes over the wall, he takes a bump right outside, so Matt Hardy is only in the ring. Okay, shouldn't that mean that Jeff is out and they just need to get Matt out? No, because here's what happens. Both tag team partners have to be out at the exact same time. If Matt Hardy goes out first, he has to go back in and then get Jeff. And so both have to go out at the same time, I guess. I don't know. I don't understand the situation. So there's a point in this match where Jeff Hardy's outside. Okay. Sheamus is trying to escape through the door. Matt Hardy is under him and trying to stop him. Cesaro is in the middle of the ring selling. Why doesn't Matt just let Sheamus go and then just go scrambling outside the door to the floor? He has a chance to win because Cesaro is still selling. He can't get out.
Because Matt Hardy, is not broken yet, so he's not in touch with his broken brilliance. So yeah, that's one of my reasons.
This match's rules were broken, and not in a good way. I don't even get it. Nate, are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
I thought you died from this match's stupidity.
Well, you are the one who's doing all the ranting, and you're pretty much just saying everything I have to say. No, I hated the finish to this match even more, okay?
Oh.
So Jeff, trying to save his brother, does he try to go in the front door and beat up the two guys? Does he do the logical thing of doing a swanton onto the two from the top rope inside the cage? No! He pulls a Jimmy Snuka and dives off the top of the cage with a swanton. This somehow
because he has to
injures him, and again, as Brian Zane would say, psychology with rainbows there.
Because Jeff is a dumb spot monkey. That's
Sheamus and Cesaro have to wait 30 seconds for Jeff to get into position. You couldn't just have them, beating up Matt for 30 seconds while Jeff starts climbing up the cage and calls a spot or something. So Jeff hits the swanton, and Matt, Jeff's apparently out cold or something. He's dead weight. And Matt is pulling Jeff out of the cage by his arm because apparently Jeff can't walk for some reason. This allows Sheamus and Cesaro to get out of the cage, and instead of doing the smart thing of climbing down halfway and then just dropping themselves like that, because it's not that far a drop once you get halfway down, Sheamus and Cesaro just climb down slowly to create this fake tension while Matt pulls Jeff out through the doorway. Sheamus and Cesaro hit the floor first, and they win. What a load of bullcrap.
Yes. The match was just terrible. And it just felt like everyone was either dumb or, it just feels like they were just stalling for time. It's just like, crap, the pay-per-view's on for how long? Quick, just knock each other down and just pretend to be asleep for 10 seconds. That's what that match was. It just felt like they were just stalling for time. And it felt like the match, even though it says it's 15 minutes, it felt longer. And that's, another problem with the next match, but we'll get to that when we get to that. But that match, it felt like, Cesaro and Sheamus, even though I like them, this was not a match that was set up do. This match right there did not help either the Hardys or Cesaro and Sheamus to actually really, benefit their talents and such. That's one of the main things I did not like about this Extreme Rules stipulation. It didn't help excite the match. It didn't put the Hardys in a positive position. Because wouldn't they pick a ladder match for the stipulation? Because I think that would have been a lot more fun. And would have more of a decisive winner.
They already had that their ladder match. Or better yet, just take off the stupid escape the cage stipulation. Just make it a pinfall or submission. It would have been so much more fun that way.
Exactly. Jeff Hardy getting knocked out, and then, that sort of thing, have both attack. That would have been really interesting, ramped up the drama. Instead, it was just everyone escaping the cage and forgetting about the door.
Mm-hmm.
There's the door there. You could just walk out.
They did a nice door spot, but, unless one of the guys gets their head slammed in it, it was a pretty forgettable cage match.
And that still works. It's like, in the video games, you're about to go to the door, it has a cut scene of like both of the wrestlers just knocking each other out, and you have to crawl and just having the right button presses just to get to that position. I'm like, no one just sits there and just walks out the door. It just has to be a struggle.
I'm just waiting for a cage match where somebody just, walks through the door casually, like, not intense, like, oh man, I gotta get the door, or he just begs the ref to open the door. He just opens the door and just goes do, like that.
I'm sure that's happened before.
Probably on.
I think I saw Ken Kennedy do that once or something. But I think that another thing that I really find stupid is the reason for Cesaro and Sheamus's heel turn. Like, okay, I can understand they're mad at the Hardys because they beat them in that tag match for the belts, and it's like, no. They're mad because apparently the Hardys stole the spotlight for them. These nostalgia cases stole the spotlight for them. Not because they beat them in a match. No, it's because, these guys are showing up. They took the spotlight from us. First of all, that's stupid. Secondly, they didn't steal the spotlight for you. Cesaro and Sheamus were already over with the crowd even when the Hardy Boys were here. And with every dumb baby face, there's dumb heels. And that's really the thing. Heels, they're supposed to be dumb for the most part. Instead, they basically turned the tables, and now they've made all the good guys, all the guys you're supposed to root for, either be unlikable or just be complete morons. And that just makes me sad.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of dumb...
Actually, before we move on, I just want to say, fuck that owl.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
I hopefully one day they'll get that stupid gimmick thing, because Lord knows it'll be perfect, because it just seems like pointless dick raising contest. And meanwhile, down in Impact Wrestling, you have a pointless feud with two announcers and having pointless number one contender matches and championships that actually legitimately mean nothing. Seriously, the whole wait, even better. They're the whole Global Force thing. The
champions. Oh my god.
Worse. And guess what? Cody Rhodes, he left the company. He left Sony. And they built this up for him and Moose to fight, and now they're both gone. Him and his wife Brandy. They just rolled out.
Well, what has happened to wrestling?
As I've said,
bad management.
Can I just say this? I guess I should probably make this joke now, but you guys want to hear a wrestling joke? Jeff Jarrett.
Oh!
Hey, he has a ton of gold for you. So maybe no, just don't be too hard on him.
Hard on.
Poor Jeff Jarrett. Was he ever over?
Well, once, a couple times, when he was singing in WWF back in the day. So, his
only notable accomplishments since then have just been running 2 lolcow wrestling promotions and banging Kurt Angle's wife.
That's not really, you look at Kurt Angle's wife, back in the day, she would look pretty good. So, that is a win, somewhat. I'm trying to struggle from the bottom of the barrel for Jeff Jarrett. I'm trying to save him.
Well, it's too late. The company is just going to be stuck in the region between life and death. It will never gain life, and yet it still won't die.
It's like basically it's from that's the episode of Red Dwarf when he just like the judge of like its worst crime is being Arnold J. Wimmer. It's like that's basically TNA. That is their worst crime. It is their crime, but also their punishment of being Impact Wrestling. Is that their crime and also their punishment?
Well, before we move on to the match that almost killed the show, I just want to say, I mentioned Northeast Wrestling several times. Their main arena is in a high school gym in Waterbury, Connecticut. And they normally draw big crowds to that gymnasium, though they do go to other venues, and they performed at a ice rink in Newburgh, New York. You want to know how many people were in attendance, or at least that were announced?
250.
1,200!
Wow, that's nice.
That means they're now drawing more than TNA.
Well, then again, I know live streams that didn't draw more than TNA, so that's not much of an accomplishment at this point.
Yeah, the House of Hardcore match show we went to, there was about, I don't know, 200 people, you'd say, or something like
anywhere
that?
between 200 and 300 people, but like,
let's still a bigger crowd than anything TNA has given.
Let's move on to the Cruiserweight match. I've already made
my
grievances about the Cruiserweights known, just how poorly implemented they've been into the show, that they have not learned their lesson as to what got the WCW Cruiserweights over, that they're being segregated from the main roster. The sheer lack of personality, or whatever personalities they're given, have been utterly cringeworthy. Cough, cough, TJ Perkins.
And yeah, it is so they have basically took a handbook of what made the cruiserweights important from WCW, even from the early days, the brand extension of WWE when they first doing that, and they just tossed it out the window. They just said, we're gonna do everything opposite. You wanted to segregate to the main roster, you made the championship mean absolutely nothing. They made their competitors, the people around the cruiserweight division, just they're not really any different. It's not really shocking because you have cruiserweights fighting in the main event. You have Finn Balor. You have Seth Rollins. You have Dolph Ziggler. These guys who would be perfect cruiserweights would probably fit in the cruiserweight division. And it's just there's no real point to it. There's no real point to a cruiserweight division.
And you know what's really messed up? You know who was in this match? Austin freaking Aries. This guy has been a world champion in ROH and TNA. He has the potential to be a world champion in WWE. Instead, he's stuck in the cruiserweights. Probably attempt to try and elevate the cruiserweights because Austin Aries, he's hands down one of the most talented guys they've got in WWE right now. And my God, he was so stupid in this match. I mean, first things first. He was going into this match with I guess he had an injured leg. So his smart move was to do a double axe handle from the top rope onto Neville. He goes flying and he completely tweaks his leg when he lands on the floor, and then he's limping throughout parts of the match.
Well, he's taking the idea from Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins doing all those crazy moves. Gosh, just watch. I'm sorry, I'm just rewatching WrestleMania 33. My God, that match with Seth and Triple H was terrible. And have Seth doing all the stupid high-risk moves because reasons.
I'm still wondering if Seth's actually legit in pain or he's selling, because there's a lot of times where because he's doing a lot of wacky shit, even with the bad arm. He's still doing that stupid power bomb onto the ropes. And of course, he did that dive onto the table, which we'll get to later. But for this match, you know what? It was a good match. I will say that. Neville and Aries are two really talented guys, and they put up a hell of a match in front of a crowd who would much rather didn't care. They chanted for the beach ball.
That's right there again. They keep chanting for the beach ball. They don't care. Neville is getting wasted, and I think he's been probably the best book champion in the company since we won the belt. He's been looked dominant. He looked his whole King of the Cruiserweight seemed to be looking actually something, something that really needed his career, a new revamp for him. But instead, it just became a anchorweight tour. He's trying to bring the Cruiserweights back, but people just don't care about the Cruiserweights. He has legitimately just looked. He says he's the king of the Cruiserweights. It's just like, seriously, you're king of what? The Cruiserweights? Come on, man. That's nothing. It's like, heck, the Burger King has is more interesting than you, man. And have more, gravitas to him. Seriously, man.
I'm sure Samoa Joe and Bray Wyatt would agree with you.
but
yeah,
it's just I just didn't care for the match, and I understand people will probably like the match, and it was technical. Yes, I like technical wrestling.
It's a submission match. They did They did a figure four. They did Last Chancery. Neville did his wacky submission.
The Rings of Saturn.
The Rings of Saturn.
And I love this type of stuff, but it just I wasn't compelled. The match I was like, it's 17 minutes, and I'm like, they should have just cut this down to 7 to 8 minutes, because this crowd was just dead. No one cared. And even worse, you just have Neville did the Red Arrow. People just they didn't really have any type of that Red Arrow to the Rings of Saturn. That was actually pretty nice.
Look. I think that's the first time I've ever seen a Red Arrow done to a guy onto his back.
Yeah, and honestly,
I bet that didn't feel good.
No, and that honestly should be like, holy crap, that's cool. But it just went with a resounding meh, and everyone was still looking at their phones, telling when this match is over, finally we can move on. And that, to me, Neville is doing a really thankless task of trying to make the Cruiserweight division, well, say another phrase, great again. But the problem is the Cruiserweight division right now wasn't even great. It wasn't great when it started out. It's right. Honestly, at this point, if they just fade away and have Neville fight for the Intercontinental title, that will be a huge step up for him.
It'll fade away and classify itself as obsolete.
Obsolete!
Damn straight.
Nate, what did you think of this match overall?
I agree. It was kind of boring. There were some good spots, but again, I don't care about the Cruiserweights. The Cruiserweights should not be a division. Even TNA's X division guys fight other people outside their weight classes. And again, there are so many other guys on the roster. Just do away with the division itself and just have some of the smaller guys wrestle the Cruiserweights. Dolph Ziggler, Sami Zayn, Finn Balor, for crying out loud. Just do something to make us care about the Cruiserweights.
Calm down. You're a grown-ass man. Yeah, but it's basically they created this Cruiserweight championship so that they could give the little guys something to do. Because when they didn't have it, all these little guys, you remember Yoshi Tatsu and Justin Gabriel and all these other guys who were talented, they were just, the only TV time they got were squash matches against Big Show, Kane, Braun Strowman. It was, they got nothing good out of it. And, there was one time when the Cruiserweight division was really good. You know when that was? It was the Cruiserweight Classic. I really enjoyed the Cruiserweight Classic because you got all these guys from all around the world. You got Kota Ibushi. You got Jack Gallagher. You got all these other guys. Cedric Alexander, Rich
my
Swann,
favorite indie
Zack
wrestler.
Sabre Jr. Yeah, him too. It's like all these talented guys. And I think another thing is, though, I think another factor is booking, because the Cruiserweight Championship, it was just built as a straight-up tournament. No interference, none of that bullshit. You're just you have a show, two to three matches each show. It's just flat-out wrestling. Guys doing high moves, a lot of hard hitting, a lot of knee slapping, all kinds of stuff that makes wrestling great. And it's just, it's wasted here. And Austin Aries, both Aries and Neville, they deserve better. Instead, we get Aries trying to do a dive to the outside, and with the way it was filmed, it looked like Aries just dived onto nothing. Like maybe he saw Neville's toad out in the crowd or something and tried to catch it. If you don't get that reference, then that joke completely failed.
But yeah, it's just. And by the way they had this match structured was wrong. They tried to have like a DQ. I'm like, are they gonna do another disqualification and a submission match, and under Extreme Rules, because that makes perfect sense. You know what? That would have actually made the match actually more interesting if they actually had a DQ. If Neville DQ'd himself to keep the title, I would have laughed. Would have laughed my ass off. Just repeat the same thing over and over again. That would have been hilarious.
Because Extreme Rules. Yeah. It was a match. It was in the death spot. Neville and Aries tried what they could, but in the end, Neville hit the red arrow onto Aries' back. Then he got the Rings of Saturn, and Aries completely just dead. Did the slowest tap out I've ever seen, and that was it. Fail! The match was good. The booking was fail. But there is some good news, guys. The main event was very good.
It was.
It was Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, Bray Wyatt, and Samoa Joe. Nate, do you want to give your rant now?
Well, I was gonna do it when if Finn Balor won this match, but I'll just say this right now: I don't find him compelling. I don't hate him, but he needs something to make me care. I mean, I don't mind him doing the whole demon face paint thing. That thing's pretty cool, but look at all the other wrestlers who have worn face paint that have endured through the years. Jeff Hardy, Sting, the Road Warriors, the Ultimate Warrior, Keiji Muto, aka the Great Muta. All these guys had a personality that got them beyond the simple fact that they wore face paint. Finn Balor does not have that factor to him. And a lot of smaller guys, again, if you're a small guy or you don't have that good a physique, you need to at least be very charismatic, cut good promos, or be a great showman. Buddy Rose did it, Dusty Rhodes could do it, hell, Abdullah the Butcher could do it, Jericho could do it, Eddie Guerrero did it, Raven did it. A lot of guys who didn't have the body of an Adonis like Mick Foley, they could get away with the fact that they weren't these big muscle men because they had something else that stood out to them. Nothing about Finn Balor stands out to me. He's a jobber. He's in way over his head, and yet they're trying to book him like he's some big Iron Man, which, I'm sorry, I just don't buy it.
You know what? I am on the same wavelength as you, because honestly, I was starting to like him in NXT, but then again, we won the NXT title, and I just like, okay, is he gonna do anything? He's actually, he's gonna do something, and all the stuff is nice, and then it just wore me down, because like, when he finally lost the NXT title, I was like, finally, after his NXT title, and then he went to Raw, maybe he's gonna do something different. Nope, he just does the same match, the same way, the same move set, and I'm like, why should I care? I want to care, but I just can't. I just can't. And it frustrates me because I want to see guys that we features to really, to extend, to actually be like, yeah, everyone seemed to like him. But for right now, I just don't know what's the big deal behind Finn Balor. I don't know. I just don't know.
Well, how compared to like Roman Reigns, because Roman, he's a babyface, but ever since he started cutting those stupid promos and he got into the mix where people wanted Daniel Bryan to win in the middle of the Yes movement, how would you relate Finn Balor to Roman Reigns?
Well, I think a lot of people didn't like Roman Reigns' push, saying, he's WWE shoving him down our throats. I say shoving him down our throats is the wrong kind of shoving. It's more like shoving a square peg into a round hole. They were clearly trying to book Roman as another John Cena, but in terms of cutting promos, they gave him these horribly scripted promos, and they just did not let Roman, because Roman is better off as like the silent kind of baby face. And I don't mean like a guy who can go out and do fake fights, it's just arrive, beat the hell out of your opponent, leave. When they interview him backstage, he just simply walks out. He doesn't have to say anything, and whenever he does speak, it's short and it's to the point. Much like in the same vein of somebody like Bret Hart, Goldberg, Minoru Suzuki, just to name a few people off the top of my head. If Roman did not have to cut those horrible promos, and if they didn't book him like he was the next John Cena, I think the Smarks would have a much lighter opinion. I was happy to know, I heard that there were more cheers than there were boos tonight, because I heard more people cheering for Roman Reigns, and I'm...
Oh, hell no. I heard nothing but boos.
Oh, yo, I heard some cheers. There were some cheers. There was a let's go Roman. It was the same like the Cena type stuff. Personally, the thing about Roman Reigns is that I think he was pushed way down throats, though. I think that was the issue, and they scaled him back a bit, and the problem is people just want him to turn heel and everything will be just fine, which it won't be.
I don't think Roman...
And if you do turn him heel, which I worry about, is that once he does turn heel and does his show, and for example, because I think he has pretty good mic work, but if he turns heel and shuts down Finn Balor, people are going to turn on Balor. They're going to, and they're going to be cheering Roman Reigns, and we're going to be in the same position like when The Miz versus John Cena. People are just going all crazy for The Miz and everything else, cheering, and it's going to really be this whole type of the fans trying to take over the show again, which the WWE fostered this, and now this is it's the chickens have come home to roost here.
Can I say something? If I could be serious for a minute, I think one of the main reasons people really like Finn Balor is because he's one of the few baby faces who isn't booked like an idiot. I mean, he does act like a nice guy. Yeah, he does. You can say his moveset is a bit limited, yeah. But compared to, say, Sami Zayn, who was just turned into a complete Joker character in SmackDown, just doing these horrifying, cringeworthy promos. Seth Rollins, who's also a babyface, but the only reason he turned face was because he wanted to get revenge on Triple H for turning on him and not helping him cheat. And I'm like, that's the stupidest babyface turn I've ever seen. And Roman Reigns, I just look at Roman Reigns and I think, this guy should not be a babyface. I mean, why is he still a babyface? He ended Undertaker's career at WrestleMania. I mean, Brock Lesnar broke the streak, and he was hated for a while, but...
They faced John Cena, and he was cheered again.
I don't know, but I will say this about Finn Balor. They are taking it slow with him. They're not doing what they did with Roman Reigns and just force him down our throats. It's a nice, slow build. So... eventually, he is going to get the championship, but they're not going to just put it on him right away. They almost made that mistake before, and the reason that happened was because Seth Rollins injured him. Now, with that said, I think we should move on to the match, which the match went a half hour. It was a hell of a match. All five of these guys, they got to look good. It started out really funny. You see... Four of the wrestlers, Bray versus Balor and Rollins versus Joe, they've had rivalries in the past. They all go after each other. Roman, who has no rival going into this night because Braun Strowman is laid up, he just standing out there in the middle of the ring, just chilling, watching these guys just beat the shit out of each other. What up? And then eventually Bray comes in, and they all start brawling together. And there was a part where the two fat bastards, I call them the McDonald's duo, Samoa Joe Samoa Joe and Bray Wyatt. You know what? Actually, Joe actually looks like he slimmed down a bit.
He's built like an offensive lineman.
Yeah, sure.
That's what.
I mean,
like.
Compared to how he looked like when he was doing the Nation of Violence gimmick, where he was pushing 3 bills, he looks like he's in great shape. He and Bray teamed up against the baby faces. There was a wacky bit where they grabbed the stairs, ran all the way around the ring with it, and just whacked Roman with it. That looked awesome.
Yes, and they did a little bit of teamwork. I like that, but then the partnership was short-lived as both men, attacked each other, and and then you have just a really good match, actually. Just everyone looked good. There was the pacing was actually really good. The action was great. I love the drive-by. Roman Reigns hit him, and then Finn Balor went a little crazy. And even though he did a lot of kicks, but there was one move, the one kick he did when he ran up Roman Reigns and knocked his head off, that was actually pretty good. I like that.
Yeah.
That was actually good.
Rollins, of course, basically exemplifying why he's a bit of a stupid babyface, but a very talented one who loves to risk his life to entertain us. He did his crazy Royal Rumble dive from the ring onto the table, onto Bray Wyatt. And then as soon as that happens, he's just grabbing his knee and screaming in pain. I don't know if he was selling or if he was legit injured, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was, in fact, the latter. Mm-hmm. Finn Balor started making his comeback. He started going crazy on everybody. And eventually we got... What was it? Roman Reigns and Seth did a little bit of brawling. Then Bray came in, hit Sister Abigail on both of them. Finn Balor shows up. Tries to... He takes out Roman. He tries to go for the Selena del Sol onto Roman. He gets it. But then... Was it Joe who came in? Right after that? Samoa Joe just... gets Finn into the cocaine clutch, chokes him out.
Yeah. He hits the he hits the warrior, the fake ass Warrior's Way on Roman Reigns. Which, by the way, like I said, low key / since she does that move better. I don't care how many people say it. Even with dress shoes on, he still hits that move better. But he hits that move, and then just like at NXT, Finn Balor gets choked out by Samoa Joe. And that's pretty much what,
It's what you fans wanted. So yes. Yeah. Samoa Joe, he wins and he's the number 1 contender, and he's going to be facing Brock Lesnar at the pay-per-view with the worst title I've ever seen in my life. WWE Balls to the Wall.
Great balls of fire. And it's Rowdy, he's going to be up there, so he's going to probably have, see Brock Lesnar, the beast alive, so he's going to have fun with that.
I hope Brock eats Chris, because he's been getting on my nerves a little bit. Now, so Samoa Joe's the number 1 contender. What do you guys think of Joe?
I think they made the no, you go first.
Personally, when he came to NXT, I thought he looked kind of rusty. Like, I don't know. It seemed like he was just doing the same old school moves that Joe does, and he never really added much variety to it. And, like, if this was maybe 2005 Samoa Joe versus Nakamura, that would probably be a hell of a match. But now you got Joe. He's 38. His back is still completely broken from when he did that stupid dive off the stairs at Bound for Glory that one year. But I don't know. I think now that he's on the main roster, he's the number 1 contender. He seems much more motivated. He looks like he's really getting into it again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think this could be something interesting. And his whole feud with Seth Rollins seemed to be in a no-go zone. And honestly, I think this is going to be a good shakeup for him. And I can't wait to see him do. And I don't think he's going to win, no. But I think this could be a good match and something that will prove Joe could be a monster and to hopefully get like an IC title run in the future. I need to get that belt away from Miz.
And if you can put your Universal Championship on Kevin Owens and have him hold it for almost half a year, I think Joe should have no problem holding that belt if he eventually wins it. I doubt he's going to be winning against Brock, but I'm sure they'll have a hell of a fight. Just two big hosses beating the ever-living shit out of each other. That should be fun. Nate, your thoughts?
I'm perfectly okay with Samoa Joe being the number one contender to face Brock Lesnar, because this is the match I want to see, and I think a lot of people would want to see. Two big-ass guys beating each other up. Suplex City versus the Samoan Monster. I mean, who doesn't want to see a match between two monsters? This is the kind of stuff that makes wrestling main events fun. Two big guys beating each other up.
Am I the only one who misses the Joe's gonna kill you chance?
Well, they haven't been there because there hasn't been a reason to have them yet. But now, maybe if they actually start building up Joe as a monster and such like that, just start murking people, just completely annihilating people on this road to face Lesnar, I think those chances will be right back up again.
So yeah, that was that. And aside from the main event and to some extent the Intercontinental Championship match, this was not a very good pay-per-view.
Although we forgot to mention one thing. Elias Sampson.
Oh yeah, him. Oh gosh, that was actually pretty fun.
I honestly think that he's gonna be a great heel on Raw.
Cause he's already a great heel. You know what he looks. You know what he looks like. He looks like a homeless Sandow.
Yes, he is.
And his gimmick is that he's every white guy with an acoustic guitar at a Starbucks in the Northwest.
So when the show goes to Seattle, he's gonna have the best pop of the night, isn't he?
Hey, I'd sooner listen to him singing than Shawn Mendes.
Well, pretty much.
Or Charlie Puth.
Well, but you know what? Just beware. That pop when he comes out in Seattle is gonna rival Daniel Bryan's. It's gonna be like, holy crap! It's like you'll be like, oh my gosh, Daniel Bryan came back. Nope, it's just the Drifter singing.
Not if he puts down the city.
So yeah, that was Extreme Rules. I'd only recommend it just to see the main event. The rest of the show is skippable. Final thoughts.
The show was a one-show card, and sadly, that was the main event. Everything else was just, like you said, forgettable.
Yeah. But yeah. That does it. The next pay-per-view, I believe, is for the SmackDown brand, and it is the ever-popular Money in the Bank pay-per-view.
Rusev for Money in the Bank.
Oh,
no,
yes.
Sorry, he's not there.
No.
But what you do get is Sami Zayn.
Oh, lovely.
Well, again, you never know. But so far, there's 4 matches on the card. We have a Money in the Bank ladder match for a women's championship contract. Becky Lynch versus Charlotte versus Natty versus Tamina versus Carmella. I don't know. A part of me wants Natalya to win, but
I just hope they don't. I just hope that it doesn't turn into Sasha Banks versus Charlotte at Hell in a Cell, and it's just all high spots and these girls killing themselves. I don't want that.
But the positive thing is Sasha Banks is not in the match.
Yeah,
so
she's on Raw with her hubby. Well, fake hubby. Usos versus the New Day. That should be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Owens versus AJ Styles versus Baron Corbin versus Sami Zayn versus Dolph Ziggler versus Shinsuke Nakamura. That should be last.
I'm actually pulling for Baron Corbin in that one.
Well, if Baron Corbin wins that, what are you going to do with all the other guys? I mean, you got Nakamura on there, you got AJ Styles. I don't
Kevin
know.
Owens. You know, have
Kevin
Kevin Owens
Owens.
and Kevin Owens, AJ Styles just can't continue to feud.
Yeah, they continue.
Nakamura and Ziggler could do, I don't know, tap dance. I don't know, whatever. And well, Corbin and Zayn can feud for the Money in the Bank briefcase. Have Zayn troll Corbin to the point of saying, you know what? I'm tired of you. You want this? I'll put this up in a match. How's that? That would actually fill the storyline since Zayn seems to have Corbin number. That would actually be interesting. But you know.
And Jinder Mahal versus Randy Orton can fuck off.
Hey, the first match was actually pretty decent. It was actually pretty, good.
If you want a prime example of a champion being pushed too hard, look no further than Jinder Mahal.
Hey, he gets heat, so that's
and you want that money.
Heel.
You want that India money, right? W wants that India money.
I will say Jinder Mahal is a great heel. He's an atrocious wrestler.
Hey, sometimes
you know what? Shoot, I don't mind him. He's actually pretty. I like him. He's decent.
Sometimes you don't need to have great in-ring ability in order to be over with the crowd. Just look at Abdullah the Butcher. He couldn't wrestle for shit. He got big-time pops wherever he went.
And he's got the Bollywood boys with him, so I don't know. But yeah, but you know what? Money in the Bank is one of the top. Is it one of the big four? Do you consider it one of the big four? Because
I would say it's like maybe it's the fifth, but I still say the big four are Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, and WrestleMania.
Yeah, so I always have fun. The 2011 Money in the Bank will always be my favorite Money in the Bank of all time. So, glory days. But yeah, until then, that basically does it for Extreme Rules, and it's getting late, so I gotta go and have my nappy bar time. Because tomorrow is a brand new day.
It's a new day. Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. So,
whoa.
yeah, but Duke, it was good having you on the show, man.
Hey, I'm here when you need me. I'm right here for you.
All right, and of course I got my friend Nate.
Who will be at Anime Next this weekend.
You are such an otaku.
Yep, in Atlantic City, and I will not be gambling because I have too much money to spend on shitty anime figures of girls in skimpy outfits, although I'm not going to be buying that stuff. That stuff's yesterday. I'm into Gunpla now.
Well, good luck with that. Don't catch any STDs. All right, guys.
You bastard!
Yes. Well, until then, guys, I'm the Hardcore Kid, telling you all to stay hardcore. Peace out.
Cease.
Peace out.